Welcome, my friend. Tonight, I invite you to rest your mind, to set aside the noise of the day, and let yourself drift gently into the past. We are going to take a journey together, a very quiet journey, across calm seas and slow history. It is the story of the Battle of Lepanto, but do not worry, there will be no sudden noises, no rushing, no clashing. Instead, we will look at this moment in history the way a painter might, slowly, gently, capturing the calm waves, the people, the ships, and the stillness of the Mediterranean world. So, find a comfortable place, let your breathing slow, and picture the endless sea, a wide, calm expanse of blue. The year is 1571. The sun is low over the water, and the world is quietly turning. Before the battle itself, there is a whole world to explore, a world of wooden harbors, quiet shipyards, bustling but peaceful coastal towns, and long stretches of sea that carry the scent of salt, pine, and fresh tar from the ship's dotonite. We will wander through that world, step by step, without hurry. And as we drift through history, the waves of Lepanto will carry us closer to rest, until sleep comes quietly. Let us begin in Venice, the city of canals, of slow-moving gondolas, of merchants who speak in many languages. In the year 1571, Venice is one of the great maritime powers of the Mediterranean. Its docks are alive with activity, but it is not hurried, not frantic. Sailmakers stitch long strips of canvas in the morning light. Shipwrights hammer patiently at hulls of seasoned oak, and merchants stand by, slowly ticking off goods in ledgers. They have traded like this for centuries. Venice, for all its beauty, feels the changes in the air. The Ottoman Empire's influence grows steadily to the east. Across the Adriatic and Aegean seas, their ports are busy, their ships plentiful. Yet here in Venice, life continues with the same measured pace, and in Spain, across the western seas, King Philip II governs his far-reaching lands. His ships, too, are part of the alliance that will form against the Ottomans. But for now, in this quiet moment, Spanish ports are calm. Fishermen mend their nets, traders unload olive oil, wine, and wool. The Mediterranean is, above all, a sea of commerce, a sea of exchanges both cultural and practical in every port, from Messina in Sicily to the islands of Corfu and Crete. There are sailors going about their daily lives. Many will one day row or sail into the waters of Lepanto, but in this moment they think only of today's tasks, of patching sails, of mending oars, of eating warm bread and salted fish on the deck. Imagine yourself walking along a wooden pier. In the early morning light, the air is still cool. A faint scent of pine and salt water rises from the hulls of the ships. Ahead of you, a long galley rests quietly at anchor. The galley is sleek and narrow, with tall masts waiting for the days, wind, and long oars resting still against its sides. It is not yet the bustle of departure, only the gentle rhythm of the harbor at dawn. You step aboard, the deck is quiet. Sailors move slowly, tying knots, checking ropes, and making small repairs. To the rigging, each man knows his work. There is no hurry. A galley like this is a floating home, and every day begins the same way. On the deck, you might see the ship's carpenter, shaping anew or with slow, careful strokes. The cook is already at work, stirring a pot of porridge over a small brazier. Nearby, a small group of sailors sit cross-legged, quietly mending their clothing with bone needles and thread. Life aboard a galley is orderly, The crew sleeps, eats, and works in a rhythm as steady as the tide. Even on days when the sea is busy, or when orders are given from the Admiralty, the men move with a measured pace far across the water. Other galleys are being prepared in the same way. In Venice, in Genoa, in Spain, and across the islands of the Mediterranean. Each port is contributing ships, each with its own crew, to form the Holy League, the alliance that will one day meet the Ottoman fleet in Messina. Sicily, the harbour grows busier each day. Galleys from Venice arrive, their flags fluttering softly in the breeze. Spanish ships join them, their hulls dark and heavy, carrying soldiers in neat formations. From the Papal States, vessels with white sails and painted crosses glide into the port. Messina becomes a floating city of ships, and yet there is still calm in the air. The men prepare their ships carefully, quietly. There is an understanding that soon they will set sail, but for now there is order and patience. Among the officers of the fleet, conversations are formal but measured. Don John of Austria, the young commander of the Holy League, is calm and deliberate. He walks the decks, speaking quietly to captains, inspecting the ships, making careful arrangements. Each conversation is brief, each order softly given around him. The sailors go about their work, seemingly untouched by urgency. The ropes are coiled, the oars inspected, the sails tested for tears. On the shore, merchants still sell bread, olives, and wine to the crews. Life moves on as it always has. The sea is constant, and the ships wait patiently. The harbour of Messina lies quiet in the early dawn. The air is cool, tinged with the smell of salt and freshly tarred wood. Soft mist rolls over the still water, wrapping the ships in a pale, dreamy veil. One by one, the galleys of the Holy League begin to stir. Oars slip into the water with a soft splash. Canvas sails unfurl, catching the first gentle breeze of morning. The ships move slowly, almost reluctantly, as if they too wish to linger in the safety of the harbour. The sun rises slowly above the horizon. Its light turns the mist to gold. Shadows of masts and rigging stretch long over the water. The ships begin their calm voyage eastward, past the narrow straits, out into the open Ionian Sea. Their destination is far ahead, but there is no rush. The sea will carry them in its own time. Out on the open water, the days take on a rhythm. The sun rises warm and steady, painting the waves in endless shades of blue and green. The wind is mild, carrying the scent of distant shores. The sea is not empty. Dolphins leap quietly in the distance. Seabirds circle lazily above Dot. Life aboard the galley remains calm. Oarsmen row in slow unison, their movements steady, unhurried. Sailors check the rigging, make small repairs, and talk softly among themselves. The officers pace the deck, scanning the horizon, speaking quietly to the HELMSMEN. Meals are simple. Dried bread, olives, salted fish, and wine watered down for the journey. In the quiet hours of afternoon, some of the crew rest in the shade of the sail, their hats pulled low against the sun. Others hum old songs, their voices mingling with the sound of water against the hull. By evening, the ships form a long line. On the horizon, the fleet stretches as far as the eye can see. Venetian galleys, Spanish galleys, papal ships, Genoese vessels. Their flags flutter in the cool evening breeze. At sunset, the sky glows in brilliant gold and soft pink, reflecting across the still waters. As night falls, the sea grows quiet. The sails are furled. The ships drift slowly, anchored beneath a sky full of stars. The sound of water lapping gently at the hull becomes the lullaby of the crew. Some men sleep on deck, wrapped in cloaks against the cool air. Others sit quietly, talking in low voices, their words lost in the vastness of the night. In the days that follow, the voyage continues quietly. Islands appear on the horizon, the green hills of Cephalonia, the rocky shores of Ithaca. The ships pass them slowly, the sound of oars carrying over the still water. Sometimes a fishing boat drifts nearby, its crew waving to the passing fleet. The galleys keep their pace, steady and calm, as they draw closer to their destination. The sea is vast, and the days blend together in a peaceful rhythm, rowing, resting, repairing, watching the sky, until, at last, the waters ahead begin to narrow. The Gulf of Patros lies beyond, and the quiet approach to Lepanto begins. After many days at sea, the fleet moves steadily into the Gulf of Patros. The morning air is still. The water lies flat, like polished glass, broken only by the slow movement of the galley's oars. The land draws closer, rugged green hills rolling down toward the sea. Small whitewashed villages dot the shoreline, their narrow houses clustered close together. From the decks of the galleys, the sailors watch these quiet scenes pass by. There is no rush, no sudden movement, only the steady rhythm of ships drawing into the wide gulf. The Gulf of Lepanto is calm. The mountains rise gently in the distance. Seabirds drift overhead, their wings catching the morning light. The ships gather gradually into a broad line. Don John's flagship, the Real, takes the center of the formation. On either side, the ships of Venice, Genoa, and Spain spread out in perfect order. Behind them, smaller vessels follow supply ships, messenger boats, and galleys carrying extra provisions. It is a quiet choreography. The oars move in unison. The sails are trimmed carefully, catching just enough breeze to guide the fleet into place. On deck, the crews work in measured silence. Some adjust ropes, others polish weapons or arrange supplies. But there is no sense of hurry. Everything is done with slow, practiced precision, as if this moment has been rehearsed many times before. The water is so calm that the reflections of the ships seem almost as sharp as their real forms. The flags hang lazily in the light breeze. Here and there, a gull's call echoes across the gulf. From the decks of the galleys, the men can see the entrance to the gulf, the narrow mouth where the Ottoman fleet lies beyond. But in this moment, there is no movement from that direction, only the stillness of water and the quiet presence of so many ships. As the fleet settles into its positions, the men rest in the warm afternoon sun. Some sit in the shade of the sail, quietly talking in low voices. Others check their gear slowly, making sure everything is ready: oars, ropes, anchors, and provisions. The officers move from ship to ship, speaking calmly to captains, confirming signals and positions. There is a sense of quiet readiness, but no rush, no noise. The gulf itself feels like a vast, still room. Holding its breath, evening approaches, and the colors of the gulf shift again. The sun sinks lower, painting the sky in soft orange and rose. The water turns a deep, gentle blue. Lanterns are lit one by one along the decks of the galleys, their warm glow reflecting in the water. The fleet settles into the stillness of night. From ship to ship, faint voices carry across the quiet sea. Some men pray softly, others hum old songs. Above them, the stars begin to appear, countless points of light over the calm gulf. Tomorrow there will be movement, but tonight there is only stillness. The morning of October 7th, 1571, begins quietly. A pale light spreads over the Gulf of Patras, turning the still waters a soft silver blue. The fleet of the Holy League lies ready in formation. Far in the distance, the Ottoman fleet waits, also arranged with patient order. There is no sudden sound, no rush, only the calm preparations of two great fleets, each moving with slow precision. The breeze is light, the water carries the faint creak of wood, the soft slap of oars, and the distant calls of officers. It is a morning like any other at sea. The horizon broad, the sky pale, and the ships steady in their positions. The Holy League fleet is arranged in 3 divisions. In the center is Don John of Austria aboard the reel. To the left, the Venetian commander Agostino Boberigo leads. His wing, to the right, the Genoese admiral Giovanni Andrea Doria commands his ships. Each galley holds steady, the oars dipping slowly to adjust position. The water remains calm, carrying the fleets closer at a measured pace. It is like a slow dance on the open sea, each ship moving in harmony with the others. The Ottoman fleet mirrors their movement. Ali Pasha's flagship holds the center of their line. The sea between the two fleets glistens quietly in the morning light. Slowly, carefully, the gap closes. The crews work in silence. Oars rise and fall with quiet rhythm. The wind shifts slightly, filling sails just enough to guide the ships closer. On deck, the men are calm. They have prepared for this day for many weeks. But in this moment, all is stillness. As the fleets draw nearer, the water begins to carry the faint sounds of voices across the gulf. Orders are spoken in calm, steady tones. Flags are raised, signaling movements between ships. Still, there is no sudden rush. The ships glide forward slowly, their long oars slicing the water in unison. The sea itself seems almost indifferent to what is about to happen. Its surface remains smooth, reflecting the sky, the ships, and the soft light of morning. The first ships of each line draw close enough to see the faces of the men aboard the others. They hold their positions with practiced discipline. The sea between them narrows to just a few hundred meters, and then, with the same measured calm that has marked the morning, the fleets begin to engage, not with noise and chaos in our telling, tonight, but with a slow, deliberate meeting of ships. The galleys move forward, their oars cutting the water in long, steady strokes. The battle has begun, but it is like the turning of a great, slow wheel, vast and steady on the calm blue seethe. The morning sun is now higher in the sky. Its light falls evenly across the water, where two vast fleets glide slowly toward each other. The engagement begins, not with a roar, but with a measured advance. Galleys move steadily, their oars dipping in perfect rhythm. Each ship seems to know its place in this great, deliberate pattern. From the flagship reel, Don John signals to his captains. The messages pass quietly along the line, one ship to the next, each adjusting its course by careful degrees. Across the gulf, the Ottoman fleet mirrors the motion. 2 formations, 2 mirrors on the water, drawing closer with patience. The air remains soft and clear. A few gulls cry out overhead. The crews move with discipline, their voices low, their hands steady. As the first ships meet, there is no sudden break in the calm. The water between them narrows, the bows gliding close enough for the men aboard to see the other ships clearly. The galleys close in, their movement like the slow weaving of threads on a great loom dot from the left wing of the Holy League. Boberigo's Venetian galleys meet the Ottoman right. In the center, Don John's ships move forward evenly. On the right, Doria's Genoese wing sails in steady arcs, holding its position. The battle is not chaos tonight. It is a vast, slow turning of ships, a measured exchange of position, a dance upon the sea. The day stretches on, the sun climbing overhead. The fleets shift slowly, each movement precise, deliberate. The sea changes color with the hours, from pale silver in the morning to deep, rich blue at midday. Light dances across the waves, and the sails cast long shadows on the decks. Time moves in long, gentle intervals. The ships hold their lines, drifting in and out of range. From a distance, the battle appears almost still, two vast arrays of ships, drifting upon the calm water. By afternoon, the balance begins to tip. The Holy League's center holds firm. The Venetian left pushes forward. Slowly, steadily, the Ottoman line begins to yield. But there is no rush. Every change is measured. Every movement unfolds like the slow turning of the tide. The sea remains calm. Above, the sky is clear, the sun warm upon the sails. The sound of oars and the creak of timbers carries across the water. It is as if the sea itself has decided to keep the day unbroken, even in the midst of battle. The afternoon sun leans gently westward. The long day upon the Gulf is nearly done. The ships of the Holy League and the Ottoman fleet now drift farther apart, their lines slowly loosening. The water is calm again. Where once there had been tight formations, now there are wide spaces of open sea between the vessels. Some ships rest still, their sails lowered, the oars quiet against the water. Others move slowly, adjusting their course or guiding damaged companions towards safer waters. The air is warm and still. Lanterns begin to appear on the decks, their light pale in the late afternoon sun. The crews work quietly, tending to their ships, speaking in low voices. The great motion of the day begins to settle. The battle, in its long and patient unfolding, has come to its close. The sea carries both fleets gently, one returning slowly toward their ports, the other drifting back across the Gulf. Don John's flagship holds steady at the center of the formation. Nearby, other galleys regroup in calm precision, the long oars rising and falling in measured strokes. It is the same steady rhythm that began in the morning, now carrying them toward the quiet evening. The sky softens. Golden light pours over the Gulf, turning the surface of the water into a broad sheet of bronze. The ships cast long shadows. The mountains beyond Lepanto grow dim in the fading sun. The wind is light, barely moving the banners. Every sound seems softened by distance. The low calls between ships, the slow creak of wood, the faint slap of water against the hull. As the sun slips lower, the day's heat fades. Cool air comes across the water. The men on deck draw their cloaks closer or gather near small lanterns. Some sit quietly, looking toward the darkening horizon. Others rest where they are, leaning against the rails, their eyes half closed. The sea holds them all in a steady calm. Above, the first stars begin to show in the deepening sky. The Gulf, wide and still, feels endless in the gathering night. Night deepens over the Gulf of Patras. The fleets rest in the quiet water, their lanterns glowing softly like distant stars. There is no more movement of formations, only the steady rocking of ships on the gentle tide. The men rest where they can. Some sleep on deck, wrapped in heavy cloaks. Others keep watch, their voices low as they talk quietly to one another. The sound carries softly over the water, calm, measured, unhurried. The battle is over. The sea, indifferent as ever, has returned to its patient rhythm. At dawn, the Holy League begins its slow return. The oars dip once more into the water. The ships move steadily westward, leaving the gulf behind. The air is fresh. The light of early morning turns the water pale gold. Every ripple seems to catch the sun. The sea is peaceful again, as if nothing has disturbed it. The ships travel together, not in haste, but in quiet procession. The damaged vessels are guided carefully, their sails trimmed to match the fleet's pace. Those that carry supplies offer what they can. It is a slow, cooperative journey, one ship helping another, all moving as one. The days that follow are gentle. The Ionian Sea lies calm beneath soft autumn skies. The winds are mild, the sun warm but not harsh. Each day passes much like the one before, steady rowing, quiet repairs, shared meals, and restful evenings under starlit skies in Messina. In Venice, in Genoa, the ports wait quietly. News will travel before the ships arrive. But the sea takes its time, and the return is slow and peaceful. At last, the harbours appear once more. The familiar outlines of stone walls, bell towers, and masts clustered together come into view. The fleets glide slowly toward the piers, their oars lifting from the water one final time. The sound of harbour. Life returns. The calls of dock workers, the creak of ropes, the faint tolling of church bells. The ships settle into their places. Lines are tied, sails are furled. The men step onto the piers, moving slowly after long days at sea. The calm rhythm of the ports resumes, as if welcoming the ships back into the timeless routine of trade, travel, and quiet work. Far out at sea, beyond the harbours, the Mediterranean stretches wide and endless. The winds shift gently, the waves roll in patient intervals. The sea does not hurry. It has carried galleys, merchants, fishermen, and sailors for centuries, and it will carry them still, long after the story of Lepanto has faded into the soft distance of memory. And so, my friend, as the fleets rest, as the harbours quieten, as the waves return to their ancient rhythm, we leave the calm waters of Lepanto behind. The sea remains as it always has, a place of slow movement, patient time, and endless quiet. Let the sound of these calm waves carry you now, drifting gently away from the day, and into a deep, restful sleep. And now, the sails are lowered. The oars rest still. The voices of the harbour fade into the distance. The story of Lepanto has quietened, just as the day quietens into night. The ships rest in their harbours. The sea lies calm once more, stretching endlessly under the starlit sky. You, too, can rest now. The journey is over for tonight. There are no more sails to raise, no more waves to cross, just the gentle rhythm of your own breath, the slow drift of your thoughts, the steady calm of a safe harbour. Let your mind drift as the ships drift. Let the sound of the calm waters carry you farther and farther, until the shores of sleep rise quietly ahead. Good night, my friend, and may the sea of history carry you into a deep, peaceful rest. The fleets, having rested in the safety of the harbours, do not rush to depart. For many days they remain at anchor, their crews busy with quiet, necessary work. The galleys are repaired slowly. Ropes are replaced with fresh hemp, sails are stitched carefully, planks are tarred again to keep the hulls strong. Each sound is unhurried, the scrape of tools, the soft thud of hammer on wood, the gentle slap of water against the sides of the ships. In the markets along the harbours, merchants welcome the sailors. Stalls overflow with olives, bread, figs, and fresh fish. The air carries the scent of roasting meat, salt, and wine. But even here, there is no rush. The narrow streets are shaded by awnings, and the people move in an easy, measured pace. When the ships are ready, they begin the long return to their home ports. One by one, the galleys leave the safety of the harbours and slip back onto the calm waters of the Mediterranean. There is no need for haste. The sea is vast, the winds are gentle, and the journey will take as long as it must. Some ships travel together in small groups. Others set their own course, the horizon wide ahead of them. In the morning light, their sails are white against the endless blue of sea and sky. By evening, their lanterns glow softly, each ship a moving light upon the quiet water. The first ports to welcome them are the islands. On the shores of Corfu, Rhodes, and Crete, harbours open to receive the returning galleys. The crews step ashore to stretch their legs, walking along familiar streets. Local children run to see the ships, their voices carrying faintly over the water. The days pass in a gentle rhythm, sailing in the morning, resting in the afternoon, anchoring at dusk. The sea offers its own quiet company, seabirds, dolphins, and the steady wind. The men sing softly as they work, their voices blending with the sound of waves. Farther west, the ports of the Italian peninsula wait. In Venice, the long quays stretch out, ready to guide the galleys home. The great stone buildings of the city rise above the water, their windows glinting in the sun. Gondolas pass in the quiet canals, merchants call softly from their stalls, and the familiar smell of salt and stone welcomes the fleet. In Genoa, the narrow harbour fills with masts and rigging. Ships of every kind are anchored here, traders from Spain, fishermen from Sardinia, galleys from the Levant. The returning fleet slides into this busy calm as if it had never left, and in Spain, the ports of Barcelona and Cartagena open too. The sea, the air is warm, the light golden on the stone walls, and the bells of the churches ring slowly in the afternoon. The Mediterranean has seen countless fleets return. Each arrival is met with quiet work, patient repair, and the steady continuation of life. The sea holds every story, but it never hurries to tell them. The fleets have returned home, but the sea remains full of life. Ships of every kind continue to move along its calm waters, traders, fishermen, and galleys on patrol. The Mediterranean breathes in its steady rhythm, day after day. Along the coast of Greece, small villages dot the shore. Whitewashed houses stand clustered together, their red-tiled roofs warm in the sunlight. Fishing boats rest on the beach, their nets drying in the breeze. The water here is clear and still, showing the smooth stones beneath its surface. Children play at the edge of the tide, their laughter soft and distant. The towns live as they always have. The market square is shaded by olive trees. Merchants sell bread, wine, figs, and fresh herbs. The air carries the smell of the sea mixed with rosemary and baking bread. Farther west, the islands of the Ionian Sea rise from the water. Cephalonia, Ithaca, and Zakynthos, each island a world of its own. The galleys pass slowly, their sails moving gently in the light wind. On the hillsides, Olive groves ripple softly. The sound of bells carries from small stone churches, calling the villagers to evening prayers. At night, the islands fall silent except for the faint hum of insects and the quiet lap of water on the shore. The moon shines on the sea, turning it silver, and the ships drift slowly past, their lanterns like floating stars. In the Adriatic, the waters narrow. Here the coastlines come close together, the mountains of Albania and Dalmatia rising sharply from the sea. The towns are smaller, their harbours tucked into sheltered bays. Stone walls climb the hillsides, and watchtowers stand quietly at the water's edge. Life is unhurried here. Fishermen mend their nets in the sunlight. Boats drift in and out of the harbours at an easy pace. The sea remains calm, the tide gentle dots southward. The great island of Crete lies on the horizon. Its cities are busy, but the busy pace of a port is not the rush of the land. It is steady, measured, like the turning of the tide. Merchants bring their goods from inland villages. Spices, wine, wool, and oil are loaded slowly into ships that will carry them north or west. Every movement is deliberate, every sound softened by the wide open air of the harbour. At night, the streets are quiet. Lanterns swing gently in the sea breeze. The ships at anchor rest in the calm water, their reflections drifting across the surface. The sea moves on, as it always does, connecting every shore. The Battle of Lepanto fades into the distance, but the calm Mediterranean remains timeless, patient, and unchanging in its quiet rhythm. From the ports of Venice and Genoa, the sea lanes stretch west. Ships follow them at their own quiet pace, passing familiar coasts and islands along the way. Along the shores of Tuscany, the towns sit peacefully above the water. Pisa, with its white stone towers, watches over the mouth of the river Arno. Livorno's harbour is busy, yet calm, its quays lined with barrels of wine and stacks of timber waiting for ships bound across the sea. In each port, the smell of salt, tar, and baking bread fills the air. The pace is steady, as if the sea itself has set the rhythm. Farther south, Rome lies just inland. Though the Eternal City does not rest directly on the sea, its influence touches every harbour along the coast. Pilgrims and merchants come and go, moving through the ports at a measured, timeless pace. Continuing westward, the Tyrrhenian Sea opens wide. The islands of Elba, Corsica, and Sardinia rise gently from the water. The ships pass along their rocky shores, where pine forests climb the slopes and small villages rest in sheltered bays. In the evenings, the sky glows gold and rose, and the quiet sound of waves fills the harbours in Sardinia's ports. The fishermen bring in their catch, tuna, sardines, and shellfish, to be sold in the markets the next morning. Women carry baskets of olives and figs, moving slowly along the stone streets. The church bells mark the hours, but life moves at the same calm pace it has for centuries. Southward still, the narrow strait of Bonifacio separates Corsica and Sardinia. Here, the sea grows more open, the winds gentle but steady. The ships pass through with care, the horizon broad before them. Beyond lies the western basin of the Mediterranean, a vast, calm expanse stretching toward Spain. The Balearic Islands appear next, scattered across the water. Mallorca, Menorca, and Ibiza each have their own quiet rhythm. In the harbours, ships rest at anchor beneath the shade of fortress walls. The scent of oranges, almonds, and rosemary drifts from the hillsides. In the markets, merchants sell pottery, salted fish, and wine. The evenings are long and warm, the stars bright above the calm water. At last, the Spanish mainland comes into view. Barcelona's towers rise above the harbour, their stone walls catching the light of the afternoon sun. The city is alive, but the sea keeps its own patient pace. Ships enter the port slowly, guided by the same tides that have brought them home for centuries. Farther south, Valencia and Cartagena welcome the returning galleys. Their harbours are wide and sheltered, filled with the sounds of work and quiet conversation. Beyond them lies the Strait of Gibraltar, where the Mediterranean meets the Atlantic, and where the calm journey westward gently ends. Long after the battle, the Mediterranean remains the same. Its waters carry new ships now, under new banners, but the sea itself does not change. The same harbours welcome sailors home. The same winds carry merchants from port to port. The same tides roll in, day after day, as they have for thousands of years. On quiet mornings, the surface of the water lies smooth as polished stone. Fishing boats slip out of the harbours at dawn, their sails catching the pale light. The gulls circle lazily overhead, their calls softened by distance. From the shore, the sound of oars echoes faintly, blending with the steady lap of waves. In the afternoons, the markets fill with quiet activity. Barrels of olives are rolled down the quays. Baskets of figs and grapes are carried carefully from ships to stalls. Spices from distant lands scent the air: cinnamon, saffron, pepper, and clove. The rhythm is steady, the work unhurried. In the evenings, the ports grow still again. The sun sets low over the water, turning the harbours to gold. Lanterns are lit along the quays, their light dancing on the surface of the sea. The bells of the churches sound softly, marking the hour. Above, the first stars appear, just as they did on the night after Lepanto, and on countless nights before. Centuries pass, but the life of the Mediterranean changes only in detail. New ships are built, with new shapes and sails. But the same routes are followed, the same islands passed, the same harbours visited. In every age, sailors watch the same horizon. They hear the same sound of waves against the hull. They see the same moon rise over the calm water. And in every age, the sea carries their stories quietly into the distance. Time moves slowly upon the sea. The galleys of Lepanto are long gone. Now their timbers weathered away, their sails remembered only in stories. In their place, new ships appear larger, with taller masts and fuller sails. But the water beneath them is the same calm blue, the winds the same patient breath. In the 18th century, the ports are still familiar. Venice, though quieter now, still rises above the lagoon. Its canals carry gondolas and merchant boats, their cargoes stacked with spices, cloth, and glassware. The city moves at the same slow pace, the bells of San Marco marking the hours as they always have. In Genoa, the harbour is busy with merchant ships. New trade routes connect the city to distant lands, but the harbour's calm rhythm has not changed. Dock workers roll barrels of wine along the quays. Sailors coil ropes, mend sails, and walk slowly through narrow streets lined with old stone houses. In the 19th century, the ships grow stronger. Some are powered now by steam as well as sail. They move more swiftly, but even so, the Mediterranean keeps its own pace. No matter how fast a ship may be, the sea measures time by tides and seasons. The harbours remain steady in their work. In Barcelona, cranes rise above the docks, lifting goods from ships to shore. In Naples, fishing boats return at dawn, just as they have for generations, their holds full of the sea's quiet gifts. In Malta, the stone walls of Valletta still watch over the harbour as they did in the time of Lepanto, their shadows stretching long in the evening light. The centuries pass, but the life of the sea does not hurry. Each day begins with the same soft light over the horizon. Each night ends with the same stars reflected in the calm water. And through it all, the Mediterranean breathes in its long, gentle rhythm. The 20th century brings many changes to the lands around the Mediterranean. Cities grow, harbours expand, and ships take on new shapes. Steam and steel replace the old timbers of the past. Yet for all this, the sea itself remains the same. On quiet mornings, the surface is still smooth and bright, fishing boats smaller. Now, some with motors, some still with sails, head out just as they always have. The gulls follow them, just as they did in the time of Lepanto. The scent of salt and fresh bread still drifts along the waterfront streets in the afternoons. Ferries carry passengers between the islands. Tourists now walk the old harbours, but their steps follow the same stone paths used by sailors for centuries. The old fortresses and watchtowers still stand, their stones warmed by the same sun. In Venice, the gondolas still move slowly along the canals. The bells of San Marco still ring across the water. In Genoa, ships still arrive with goods from far away lands. In Barcelona, the harbour still opens wide to the calm blue sea. At night, the harbours are quiet again. Lanterns glow softly along the piers. The sound of water against the stone quays is the same as it was 400 years ago. The stars still shine above the calm, endless water. The sea does not hurry. It has carried the ships of every century, and it will carry the ships of centuries still to come. Its tides mark time in their own way, patient and unchanging, and so we leave the centuries behind. The ships of the past have all come and gone. The harbours have changed, the sails have changed, the flags have changed, but the sea remains. The Mediterranean still lies calm beneath the same sky. Its surface still reflects the soft light of dawn. Its waves still roll in slow, steady intervals. Its harbours still wake and sleep with the rhythm of the tides. If you stand on a quiet shore tonight, you would hear the same sounds sailors once heard in the time of Lepanto. The gentle lap of water on stone, the faint cry of a seabird overhead, the hush of wind moving softly across the waves. Look out across the water, and you might see the lights of a ship in the distance. It could be a galley from the 16th century, or a modern vessel from today. The sea does not mind the difference. It carries them both with the same patience, the same care. Night deepens over the water. The horizon fades. The lanterns of the harbours glow softly, their reflections trembling on the surface of the sea. Above, the stars stretch endlessly, just as they have for thousands of years. The Mediterranean breathes in its long, gentle rhythm. With every tide, it whispers the stories of the past, and with every tide, it carries them away again into the quiet distance. And now, let the sea carry you to. Let the calm water take you far from the shore, where the air is soft and the stars are bright, and time moves only with the tide. There are no more sails to raise, no more harbours to reach, only the slow drift of the waves carrying you into a deep, peaceful rest. Good night, and may the eternal rhythm of the sea bring you dreams as calm as its waters.